A very, very good morning to you. A very warm welcome to our channel, Online Darts TV. And as you might be able to guess, unfortunately, the great Phil Bars isn't with us because he's too important nowadays. That's just how it works on this show. But you still got the pair of us Muppets talking to you at 9:30 in the morning. This is far too early. I'm never normally up this early, but it's for a good reason. Jarleth and Jack Garwood with you, alongside you to talk through the William Hill World Darts Championship draw, which is due any minute now, Gob.
Yeah, massive morning, hence us actually having to get out of bed. When we agreed to this, I'm not quite sure I was prepared at how early it would be after the day after I moved house. But yeah, here we are once again. We'll get there. We'll get through this. It'll be all right.
I think this is just a really special moment, I think, because you get to Christmas and we all think, the advent calendars are being corked by some people. We're all children at heart, let's be honest about it. And we're all counting down to that moment. And obviously we had the draw, we had the qualifiers yesterday, or sorry, Monday it was now. It feels like yesterday, to be really honest. All days just blend into one at this moment in time. But basically, it just feels great. Like we're talking about the World Championships. Fans are back as well. We know that fans are going to be here in the World Championship this year. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, absolutely massive. The news came out, this is 1,000 per session. Will be a little bit different to what we're used to at the Alexandra Palace, but let's be honest, just to have them back in the room will be fantastic. It's a little bit overdue. Some of the events have become a little bit subdued of late, I think. We coped really well throughout the pandemic, just to get live darts on, but to have it back now, it's just that little bit more special, isn't it? It's the big one in front of fans in the UK for the first time since the Premier League in Liverpool. You were there, I wasn't.
Absolutely. Let's just say a very good morning to a few people in the chat room right now. Kieran Randall saying my birthday is really good, guys. Thank you very much, Kieran. Thanks for joining us at such an early hour of the morning. Happy birthday. Lee Boyce is joining us as well. Good morning, Lee. Morning to you, my friend. The Big Fish. I can't say the full title, but, Jay from the In-Betweeners has joined us, it clearly seems like. Mike Duffy is in the chat room as well. Good morning to you, Duff. Great to speak to you. Great to speak to you earlier on in the week. And also David Hughes saying, great show, but just be mindful that many people listen to the podcast. Absolutely. We love our podcast listeners as well. And remember, of course, if you guys want to get in touch with us and you are listening to this on the podcast, we will put this out as a pod. Then all you need to do is tweet us at official OL Darts, Facebook as well. Find us on there, or find us as well on Instagram. So we are just seconds away right now from the draw starting. I've got a fantastic advert from the host broadcaster currently on my screen at this moment in time upstairs. So if I'm looking away up there, everybody, that is because I'm just waiting for the draw to happen. There are some brilliant potential first round ties in this one, Gob. There are so many great matchups that we could have in round one before we even get to the 32 seeds that are going to be there in round two as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental, the quality that's available. We've been talking about the depth of darts all year and how that can set things up. And when you get a field this big, it just allows for some of the most incredible ties early on. Like, this is the big one. This is where the big chunk of money is. But actually, you could be dead in the water after one round and you don't pick up as much as you'd like. There's a serious chance to climb up the rankings at this event. You just hope you get a nice draw to accompany that, and Christmas comes a little bit early for you.
Well, Peter Wright, remember, of course, yes, of course, he was world number 3 at that point last year. But remember as well, the reason why he's got over £1 million worth of prize money this year is because half of that was from the World Championships last year. So, there was a moment like that. Obviously, the first world champion of the decade when he defeated Michael van Gerwen in what was, I know it was 7-3, but I thought that was a real classic final. Before we go into that, by the way, Joel McDonald says, greetings from Oz. Yes, very, very good evening to you. You can actually watch it at a half decent time for you. Normally, it's on about like 7:30 or 4:30 in the morning, but the host broadcaster has done really, really well on this one. But yeah, Peter Wright, Michael van Gerwen last year's final, potentially again could be happening this year, as could Gerwin Price easily be in the draw again and be winning that space in the final.
Yeah, completely. It's all set up for an absolute classic. The year we've had the multiple different winners, the top three suddenly finding themselves in the last four of the Players' Championships after we spoke about. how we believe that they could go on to be a sort of tennis dominant force like we've seen the likes of Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, and Murray. So yeah, look, it's very, very intriguing right now, and I can't wait for this draw. To be fair.
No, neither can I. So we're just going through the formalities currently on screen. Lee's asked us who you both saying as the one unseeded player to avoid. How long have you got, mate? That is a very, very long list. I think, to be honest with you, at the moment in time, I'm probably going to go boring. You're about to say that's probably the more boring answer, but if you're going to go there, I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go with Callum Ridds. I'm really liking the way that he's playing at this moment in time. Yeah. I think if Callum Ridds, if you get him in the first round, you are very, very unlucky indeed. So let me just show you how this is going to work, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try our best to work out what's going on. We're going to try and have the volume low down, because sometimes they don't actually tell you who's playing who in terms of the seeds, so that's not good. But basically what's going to happen is that I'll be basically writing it up as well for our website, which you can read the full draw as soon as it's out, onlinedarts.com. God will be talking you through as best he can the draw. I'll also be making our own reactions. We want your reactions as well, by the way. We should stress this right now. Get us in the chat room, and we'll be on air till around about 10:15, giving full reaction to the William Hill World Darts Championship draw. We are just, like I say, we are just waiting for it to get underway, so please bear with us. But the balls haven't been, I don't think the balls have actually been put in yet, have they, got, as far as I'm aware?
Well, I hope not. On mine, we haven't actually worked out if we're synced up with how we're currently viewing this yet. So
no, we haven't. No.
We could have a slight delay between ourselves as well as everybody else watching. The joys of modern technology, I guess. I've still got Emma and Wayne chatting away, so
yes.
I think now's as good a time as any to actually, while I've just mentioned her name, how much of a revelation Emma Payton has been to Sky's coverage of darts. There was a big hole to fill when Dave Clark came in. First ever presenting of the darts was at the match play, and she smashed it. She's been so good. We spent hours debating who would be the next Dave, who was going to fill those shoes. Would they try and use broadcasters that currently operate in other sports and all that sort of thing? And Emma's come in and absolutely knocked it out of the park. I think she's developed a great relationship with the pundits already. She's picking up knowledge as she goes. It's brilliant. She's been superb.
She certainly has. They've obviously put out on the PDC's Twitter feed, which is always a bonus. They've already put out the numbers that are in the draw, and it looks like that Wayne is just about to go and draw the first number. So here we go.
You're definitely ahead.
So Ryan Murray is out the draw first, and he will play in round one. Number 46, and that's Lawrence Ilargin. So that is Michael Van Gerwen's first.
What a great draw. What a great draw that is. Ryan Murray's in some great form at the minute. Lawrence Ilargin, one of the best actions from the Asian Tour we've ever seen.
Absolutely. So number 16 is drawn out next. This is to play Ricky Evans in round two. That is Mickey Mansell. Mickey Mansell is out next. He will draw, and he will play the international qualifier. And Hopai Puha. So Hopai Puha is going to be playing Ricky Evans in round one. That's a really good game. I'm really looking forward to that one already. That's a good couple of draws already.
I'm not expecting massive averages, but they're two very, very good, accomplished finishers.
So Joe Cullen will face either Wayne Jones. You may hear the coverage on Sky. I do apologise if that is the case. We're trying to make sure that we're doing this the way that we're there. So Kieran Tehan. So it is Wayne Jones or Kieran Tehan to take on Joe Cullen.
Kieran had a great run last year. He looked really good at the Worlds, but he hasn't really done a lot since.
So John Henderson will face Johnny Clayton if he beats.
How good does John Henderson look right now?
Marco Cantelli. So there we go. So Johnny Clayton will face either John Henderson or Marco Cantelli. That could be a really good game, actually.
Marco's
right, Dave Chisel's next up.
John needs to play well.
Right. Dave Chisel's next up, and he will face Keegan Brown or Ryan Meikle. So Dave Chisnell against against Keegan Brown or Ryan Meikle.
Two former winners on a development.
No, here we go. Danny Noppert. Very much so. He's been playing very, very well. This one is to play Danny Noppert in round 2, and it will be either the big Dutchman, Martijn Kleermaker, or Cameron Carolison, who I don't know much about, I'll be brutally honest, but I know he won the African qualifier.
Yes. That's about my knowledge on that one too.
To be honest with you, I'm sorry, everybody. Right, Dimitri van den Berg can play Luke Humphries.
Disqualified to win.
Luke Humphries. Dimitri van den Berg can play Luke Humphries, meter of 2 former development tour winners, or Paul Lim. Luke Humphries can play
2 former World Youth Champions.
2 former World Youth Champions.
2 former World Youth Champions versus the oldest man in the draw, surely.
Absolutely. So Jermaine Wattamina will be happy because he doesn't get Luke Humphries in round 2. Jermaine Wattamina will get either Dirk Telnikers or...
Could get him in round 3, though.
Or Nick Kenny. Yes, he could get him in round 3. So Jermaine Wattamina will play either Dirk Telnikers or Nick Kenny. So there we go. That's that's what it is at the moment in time.
They must have met in their BDO days.
Definitely. So Jason Lowe will take on Michael Smith if he beats Dmitry Gorbanov. Again, someone I don't know much about, but I presume he run the Russian qualifier.
Is it the Eastern European? Next up,
Devin Peterson will get Steve Lennon.
Or
Daniel Larson. That's a tough draw for Devin.
That's just So Daniel Larson's played some good stuff on the home tour this year.
He has. Gary Anderson then is next, and he will face either Mardas Razma. That is not an easy game if Razma gets through, or Toru Suzuki,
who won the Japan qualifier ahead of Seigo Asada and Yuki Yamada.
Correct.
That's easy to say at 9:30 in the morning, I swear.
So, so Mental City to take on Mike Koivenhoven or Matthew Edgar, who obviously came through the qualifier on Monday. So Mike Koivenhoven will take and Matthew Edgar will take on each other for the right to face Mensur Suljovic. Now, former world champion Rob Cross, number 3. That's Dirk van Dijvenbode. Oh my goodness, that is a horrendous.
Oh my god.
That is a horrendous draw. And they will. So Dirk van Dijvenbode, first of all, has to beat Bradley Brooks, who obviously won the World Youth Championship earlier on last week now. That's a really good scrap.
That game will not be slow.
Definitely not. So Adam Hunt is next one out. He will take on either Jamie Hughes if he beats Lisa Ashton. So it's Adam Hunt against Lisa Ashton, who obviously has previously played at the World Championships, has been on the tour this year, but she's going to play Adam Hunt. The winner plate's on JB Hughes. Right, does her. Glenn Durant will face either Steve Beaton or Diego Portela. That's not an easy draw. That for Duzza.
That's a steady draw. No, Diego and Duzza will know each other well as well. Part of the same management stable-ish.
Absolutely. So Adrian Lewis gets Damon Hector in round 2 potentially. Oh my god,
that's a horrid draw. This section 2 of the draw has already thrown up some absolute corkers, as if this wasn't the tightest already.
And Danny Baggish is in that aspect as well. So it's
Adrian
Lewis against either Damon Hector or Danny Baggish. Right, we move on to section 3. Who will the world
constantly hearing good things about Danny Baggish.
So Steve West will take on Peter Wright if he wins against Amit Kitwala, who was the Indian number 1. Right, we move on to Gabriel Clements next. Gabriel Clements will face either Andy Hamilton or... Sorry, we aren't going more in depth in this, by the way. We will do eventually once we get the draw done. But Andy Hamilton will play Nico Kurtz. Oh, my God, what a tie that is. Could be an all German tie
That's a
second
great
round.
game. To set up Clemens as well.
Right,
That's a fantastic
Ratajski.
draw.
Here you go. Here's a draw.
Never gets an easy draw, does Ratajski. Never.
Well, he gets Ryan Joyce in round 2, or
Relentless. You watch him go perfect on the doubles if he gets through.
Karol Sedlacek.
Oh,
we beat in
I
round
told
one
you
of
he
the
never
players.
gets an
We
easy
beat in
draw.
round. I'd say round one of the players recently. You beat him. Right. So Simon Whitlock gets Darius Labanauskas in round 2, or
How's Darius meant to play Michael Van Gogh in from there?
I know, or Cheng Han, or was it Cheng Genlu? I presume that's how you pronounce it. I apologise. Imagine having a weird name, everybody, as we talk about this. Right, moving on to your boy, James Wade. He gets Callan Riggs in round 2, potentially. Oh my God, what a draw that is. Or James Bailey, who I believe is from...
James is steady. James is not one to be shrugged at. No, James Bailey is a
DPA. Excuse me.
DPA.
Right, so Stephen Bunting gets Andy Bolton. Stephen Bunting gets Andy Bolton, or Peter Hedman. Peter Hedman. So unfortunately, we're going to debut at Ali Pali. So Andy Bolton, by the way, is playing some really good stuff, by the way. I should stress that now.
Yeah.
And Peter Hedman
is
playing some good stuff, playing some very good stuff. Very tough draw for Ian White. He either gets Kim Hybrex or Di Zhuang, who is making his debut as well at Ali Pali as well. So there we go. But Kim Hybrex presenting against Ian White in round 2. Excuse me. Right. So Jeffrey Deswan gets Ryan Searle. Oh God, that's a tough draw.
Oh my God.
And then Danny Lauby as well in that draw. So it's Jeffrey Deswan versus either Ryan Searle or Danny Lauby. Okay. Right, we move on then to the final section of the draw. Gerwin Price against Luke Woodhouse, who obviously knocked out Michael Smith in round 2 last year by 3-0. Or Jamie Lewis, who obviously came through the development tour. Sorry, he came through the Pro Tour qualifier.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I haven't got COVID.
Jamie Lewis defended a bit of prize money here as well after a couple of good runs at Ali Pali.
Yes. Right, so we move on to Brendan Dolan. He takes on either Mike Decker, which is not an easy draw. Excuse me. Goodness me. Or Edward Folks. Right, moving on to Jose de Sousa then. He gets Ross Smith potentially in round 2. That's not a good draw, that.
He's another one. I was very close to saying him for the unseeded player you don't want to play. Ross Smith is certainly up there.
Ross Smith or David Evans.
What a game that could be.
Yeah, very much so.
They must have met on a home tour of some sort over the year.
Mervyn King gets either Max Hopp or
the highest ranked Max Hopp, obviously, as per PDC rules.
Because he's obviously in there every year. Or Gordon Mathers. Keen Barry's still not out yet, by the way. And he's one that you don't want to have. Scott Waits gets Nathan Aspinall. Of course, he missed. Yeah, that course he missed Matt Campbell, the Canadian player who played really well at the World Cup. But Scott
what a
Waits
game that could be!
Could be Vincent van der Voort against Matt Campbell. Sorry, Nathan Aspinall against either Scott Waits or Matt Campbell. Scott Waits, remember this match, darts to beat him at the Players' Championships last week.
That's
Vincent
my favourite
van der Voort
so
gets
far,
either Ron Moulenkamp will play Vincent van der Voort if he wins against Boris Kuchmar as well. Remember how well he's playing recently at the moment. He's playing some great stuff. King Barry's still not out.
There's only 4 names left. And
Daryl Gurney. I'd say Daryl Gurney will not want him because here he comes. Daryl Gurney gets William O'Connor.
If this is Barry, it's all from the Emerald Isle in some sort.
Neil Zonneveld. So he's obviously from the rest of the world qualifier. So King Barry will potentially play. King Barry will potentially play Chris Dobie. Oh my God, what a setup that is. Jeff Smith against Keen Barry in round 1 will take on Chris Dobie in round 2. Oh my goodness. That is madness. So, well. That is one hell of a draw, everybody. That concludes the draw for the William Hill World Darts Championship. And where to start, Gob? I presume we should start with the world number 1, Michael van Gerwen, who I don't think has got that easy of a tie. Ryan Murray or Lawrence Ilagan?
We said this about Ilagan a couple of times at the World Cup, though, and you just want him to deliver now. He's got a fantastic action. We know he's got the ability. He's at a 9-darter on the Asian Tour. Ryan Murray, however, is winning games. He's been winning games the last couple of weeks, but the averages haven't quite been there. Right, it's been fantastic that he is winning those games, but he's been grinding them out with low 90s. He'd have to top a couple of points on that if he's going to get close to Van Gerwen, especially after the way he played at the Players' Championship finals just last week. But yeah, it's not the easiest tie. There are certainly others out there.
Absolutely. We'll move on to the defending champion, because obviously he'll be playing first night on. There's no doubt about that. So the first game of the tournament will be Steve West or Amit Gilitwala from India. There's obviously been a lot of stuff being talked about from India. Let's be honest about it, because we saw a tweet about that the other day. But I don't really know much about. I mean, I'll be brutally honest, but Steve West obviously made a quarter-final run at the European Championships.
Steve West is a very, very dangerous player if you're Peter Wright to be playing on opening night. If you're not 100%, Steve is more than capable on the 180s, and if he gets going and then finds a couple of doubles, he will put you under a lot of pressure. That is not a nice draw for the defending champ on opening night.
No, definitely not. But I think let's just do the tie of the round here in round 1. I think I think Jeff Smith against King Barry with a winner to take on Chris Dobie. That is interesting.
Yeah, fully agree. I wasn't expecting that one to come out last. I'll be honest. I just stated that the Scott Waits game that was up there as one of my favourites. Is that Matt Campbell he's playing?
It is, yes, it is, yeah. I'm just finishing off the report now.
The Keen Barry Jeff Smith. The Keen Barry Jeff Smith is a really good matchup. Jeff's obviously gone back home for a little bit before the Worlds. It would have been nice to see him at the Players' Championship just to know what sort of form he's carrying, but that's a very, very intriguing game.
Definitely. We want your thoughts, by the way, everybody in there. Go while I'm sorting this out, do you want to go through some of the comments? Can you have a look at the comments this morning?
Once I get it loaded up.
Well, I'll tell you what then. Actually, I've just managed to put out the report, actually, which is a bonus to get it done this early and this quickly. So this is the draw then for the William Hill World Darts Championship. We'll recap the full draw for you in just a couple of moments' time. But let me just tell you this now, that our coverage plans are as extensive as ever. We will be there with you every day. Phil Bars will be down there for you, at least Phil, maybe a couple of others, hopefully, if we can, with the PDC are nice to us. But hopefully we'll get some stuff on there. Of course, we'll be doing a podcast every day, won't we, Gob?
Yes. Lucky us. More late nights. But yeah, we'll be there every day.
We will be there. We will be there for you. Don't worry about that. We will be there. But yes, it's going to be. It's certainly one hell of a draw. Do you know what, Gob? If you get up the draw on the website right now, you can then read through the draw while I post it across everything. Peter Wright, by the way, has got, actually, do you know what? Peter Wright has got either Steve West or Amit Gilitwala. That's what he's got there, Michael Temple. So thank you very much for asking the question. Gob, if you get the draw right now on onlinedarts.com, anybody can go there right now, by the way, and have a look at the draw because it has just been posted. Yeah, if you go, if you got the draw up, Gob?
It's still loading. That's you talking.
You know what? I wish we'd done this before. I wish
technology is
pre-recorded. It really is. But yeah, like I say, guys, if you keep coming up in the comments with us right now, then we'll be absolutely fine with that right now. We'll be on air till about 10:15 this morning going through. Have you got the draw, Gob?
I have got the draw.
Go for it.
Okay, so let's read it back. In the first quarter, Michael van Gerwen will play the winner of Ryan Murray or Lawrence Ilagan. Ricky Evans will take on Mickey Mansell or Halpai Puha. Joe Cullen will face Wayne Jones, or last year's he made an impact, Kieran Tian. Johnny Clayton, the World Cup winner with Gerwin Price, will take on John Henderson or Marco Cantele. Dave Chisnell will face either Keegan Brown or Ryan Meikle, an all-English affair. Danny Noppert will play the winner of Martijn Kleermaker or Cameron Carolison. Dimitri van den Berg will face either Luke Humphreys or Paul Lim. Experience versus youth in that one. And Jermaine Watamena will take on the winner of Dirk Telnikes or Nick Kenny. Into Section 2, we have Michael Smith facing off with Jason Lowe or Dmitry Gorbanov. Devin Peterson will play the winner of Steve Lennon or Daniel Larson. Madars Razma or Toru Suzuki will fight for the right to play against Gary Anderson in round 2. And Mensur Sulovic will play the winner of Mike Kuvenhoven or Matthew Edgar, who has just kept his tour card for now. Rob Cross will play the winner of Dirk van Duivenbode or Bradley Brooks. What a tie that is for the former world champ. Jamie Hughes will play the winner of Adam Hunt versus Lisa Ashton. The Lancashire Rose returning to the Palace once again. Can she match Fallon's exploits from last year? Glenn Durrant will play the winner of Steve Beaton or Diogo Portela, whilst Adrian Lewis will play the winner of Damon Heta or the dangerous American Danny Baggish. Section 3, Peter Wright, as we've said already, takes on the winner of Steve West or Amit Gitwala. Gabriel Clemens will play either Andy Hamilton, the former runner-up, or Nico Kurtz. Christopher Tysky will play the winner of Ryan Joyce or Crazy Charlie, Karol Sedlacek. Simon Whitlock will play the winner of Darius Labanauskas or Chengan Liu. James Wade will play either Callan Ridds, who had a really good run at the Players' Championships, or James Bailey. Stephen Bunting will play the winner of Andy Bolton or the second lady in the draw this year, Dieter Hedman, making her debut. Ian White will play the winner of Kim Huybrechts or Di Zhuang. And Jeffrey Deswan will play either Ryan Searle or Danny Lauby. And into the final quarter of the draw, Gerwin Price will play either Luke Woodhouse or Jamie Lewis. Brendan Dolan will play the winner of Mike DeDecker or Edward Folks. Jose de Souza will take on Ross Smith or David Evans. Mervyn King will play either Max Hopp or Gordon Mathers. Scott Waits and Matt Campbell will play Nathan Aspinall in round 2, whilst Ron Moulenkamp and Boris Kirchmar will do the same to try and play Vincent van der Voort. Daryl Gurney will play the winner of William O'Connor or Neil Zonneveld. And the last out of the hat, Chris Dobie will play the winner of Jeff Smith or Keen Barry.
Wow, have you managed to recover from that?
Breathe.
Have you managed to recover from reading that off? And breathe, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, it pays to stay to the end, doesn't it? It pays to stay to the end with this because, honestly, that last draw, by the way, is absolutely incredible, I should stress. That's absolutely fantastic. Right, that concludes the draw then for the William Hill World Darts Championship, and what a draw it is. We're just going to go back down there. So one thing we do know, mate, is that Peter Wright will play on the opening night. Obviously, as defending champ, that's just how it works. If people don't like it, I'm sorry, but that is just what happens, unfortunately, in the world of darts. As I turn my TV screen off there, how much of an advantage is it as well this year that the actual event itself is split perfectly, really, because the first round and the second round happen before Christmas. The third and fourth round take place over New Year, between Christmas and New Year, and the New Year is quarterfinal, semi-final, final. It's weird that.
I'm not entirely sure it is an advantage. I think, especially for the top players, they're so used to playing in blocks now, or you look at something like the Grand Slam or the match play, at most you're going to get a couple of days off. You always get this massive lag now from the world champion playing on opening night to when they might finally play their third round game. And it can be difficult to get into the tournament if you're in that position. Especially with these breakups now, where we've got the blocks before and after Christmas and New Year. I suppose everybody's doing the same, but to stay in a rhythm as a dart player, it can be quite difficult. And we can see some massively differing performances either side of these breaks if players make it into each round.
Certainly could. Look, I actually quite like it this year. The fact that the PDC's done it the way it is. The PDC's actually managed to split it equally. To be honest with you, but I'm really intrigued by a couple of games on there. By the way, can we get your thoughts? By the way, in the comments, by the way, YouTubers, right now, about your favourite ties of the round, because I'm intrigued by one that I haven't really mentioned yet, and that's Gabriel Clements against either Andy Hamilton or Nico Kurtz. If Nico Kurtz comes through that, which I'll be honest with you, I expect him to do, that could be one hell of a game between Germany's current best star and the star of the future.
Yeah, as a tie, I really rate it. I think what Andy Hamilton has done for his career over the last few months has been fantastic. He lost his tour card, realised that he wasn't in a position to compete at PDC level anymore, so went back and played on the BDO tour for a year, made Black World Championships, and has built his way back up again. And all right, he's not the Andy Hamilton that was top 3, top 4 in the world, that was consistently making last fours at virtually every event for about 3 years, but he's experienced, he's capable, and he's dangerous if he gets on a run. So that's a tough tie for both players, and it's intriguing with the all-German affair possible.
It certainly is. I'm really intrigued by this one, though. God, I want to touch on a draw for your boy James Wade. James Bailey could potentially play him, or the one I'm thinking will do is Callan Ritz. That is a really tough tie between two players that are in form at the moment.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Callan for the last 12 to 18 months. He's been built up, and he picked up his tour card here or there, and he played really well at Players Championships, and I think that little bit of experience let him down against Peter Wright when he ultimately lost in a last leg decider. If he's learned from that, that suddenly makes him even more difficult to beat. If you're James Wade, you would prefer that Peter Wright has done him off the board, not that he's lost in a last leg decider, because obviously Wadey is known for pinching those deciders and his superb record in last leg deciders, which helps in set play, massively helps in set play, because you're going to have more deciding legs than you would anywhere else. But if Callan's learned from that, that just makes him even more dangerous. So that's a tough draw. Let's not rule off James Bailey, though. Very, very capable dart player. I think he's been at Ali Pali before. But yeah, all of the Australian boys that come over now, or the DPA boys that come over now, are solid players. So him and Gigi, Glenn Mathers, they're both more than capable of putting a run together.
Certainly, I'm really looking forward to this one. A comment in there. We'll get two ties around in just a bit more. Ties around in just a bit. Comment in there from Michael again. Is Gary Anderson there? Yes, he is. And I don't think this is a tough. Actually, I don't think this is a very easy draw for Gary. Potentially could be playing Mensur in round 3. If he gets, you've got to get past either Maldus, Rasma, or Tora Suzuki. Now, I'll be honest. Again, I don't know much about Tora. I haven't really seen much of him play. But Maldus has been absolutely superb this year. Pro Tour finalist. Really could have gone to the World Series Darts finals. He's looked in decent nick. All he needs to do, I think, is improve his scoring a little bit. But he's the best treble 19 hitter that I can see on the tour right now.
Yeah, he starts there for some lads. Yeah, it's quite weird and awkward to play as a professional, because you're just not used to it anymore. 20, 30 years back, there used to be multiple players that started on 19s, but it's not as common anymore. He's a bit of an awkward player. I think he's very much set in his rhythm. We saw that a couple of times from him as well. He likes to stand all the way back, make you walk all the way around him. Gary Anderson won't like that if he's playing Maldus Rasma. We've seen multiple times the pace of game and things that sometimes are, sometimes aren't deliberate will irk him. He just wants to get on and play the game, especially with his knee injury. So, yeah, that's not the easiest of draws whatsoever.
Certainly not the case. I definitely agree there. Obviously, there's been a load of people coming through. Lucas said, Waits v Campbell could be either round. Yet we have talked about that one, potentially playing Nathan Aspinall. We haven't really touched on the Aspin this one, but he's defending World Championship semi-final money. It's the start of really what he's defending. He's got to have a decent tournament, because again, he hasn't really, apart from those World Championships, hasn't really done much apart from that UK Open win.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen glimpses of the Aspinall. He's a Premier League finalist. I'm just not convinced at the minute. He beat Gezi at the Players' Championship and then was a little bit limp the round afterwards. Scott Waits had match starts against him in the first round. Matt Campbell was superb at the World Cup. He was definitely a bit of a revelation for me. If he's learnt from the couple of darts that he's missed in those crucial moments against the Belgians in that pairs game, then he is more on a threat because he's so comfortable, so good up on that stage. I thought he was arguably carrying Jeff Smith at one point, and that's not easy to do because Jeff Smith is a superb dart player as well. So, yeah, that is a very, very tricky tie for Nathan Aspinall, in my opinion, whichever one comes through. There's a couple of these we're looking at going, that's potentially a tricky tie if somebody else gets through. This is one of the ones that, regardless of the winner of this match, the seed has a tough game.
And one that as well in that section of the draw definitely has a tough game regardless is Chris Dobey, because he's got either Jeff Smith or Keegan Barry, who are playing some outstanding stuff. Now, Dobes to me has gone back. I read rightly that he's going back and working on the action a little bit, because I think he's just a little bit, I don't know what he said. It was well that the Winter Series was the worst week of his life. But Jeff or Keed is a tough game, because Chris as well has got to defend some decent money. He remember he made a Players Championship quarter final 2 years ago to then go and lose to Gary Anderson in the last 16 of the World Championships, in arguably the game of the tournament, of which, let's be honest, was a pretty dull tournament. So Jeff Smith against Keegan Barry in round one for the right to play Chris in round two. Again, that's one of those games where you go, no matter who comes through, they will have a tough game.
Yeah, completely agree. Keane is he's a future star. He's basically a star now. There's a lot of hype around him. He's done magic things as a youth player, and we're expecting him to push on now and start doing them as a professional. We all know how good Jeff Smith is. That run he put together at the BDO Worlds a couple of years back. He's won Pro Tours. He's more than capable, more than dangerous to a lot of these players. He's just superb. But I rate him so highly, and if it wasn't for the constant travel back and forward, I know he plays most of the events, but not all the events. I just think that sometimes that jet lag and whatever else that he's going to come back with sometimes doesn't help him, obviously. So, yeah, that's a tough game all around, whichever way it goes.
Let's just take a look at some of the comments that we've had there. Lee's obviously come back and said top five will be FDI's just joined the chat. Good morning, mate. I hope you're okay. We will take a look at your stuff, I'm sure, throughout the day. But Lee has just mentioned his draws of the round. So Dave Chisnell against Keegan Brown or Ryan Meikle. Dimitri Vandenberg against Luke Humphreys, Paul Lim. We will get to that game in a second. AJ Lewis against Damon Hetter against Danny Baggish. That is a interesting game. Christoph Ratajski, the Ryan Joyce or Carol Sedlacek. Again, if Carol comes through that one, or Ryan, to be fair, Ryan is not he's no mug. He's obviously a Pro Tour winner. Then that could be a very interesting game. But the one game I want to touch on that he's mentioned in there that we haven't really talked about is the former world champion, Rob Cross. Remember, he's defending last 16 money this time round, but he has got either Dirk van Dijvenbode or Bradley Brooks. That could be a very tricky tie regardless.
Yeah, Bradley, the newly crowned world youth champion, that will stand him up massively. That wasn't the greatest encounter. We know that Bradley is a far better player than that, and Joe is as well, to be fair. But that was the nerves, and that was settling on that big stage. Now that Bradley's got that win under his belt, he'll feel invincible going into that game. He's got absolutely nothing to lose. Now he's world youth champion. That got him here. This is effectively a free roll. Sets it up nicely. Dirk, however, he's just become a massive threat. A year ago, there's no way we were talking about Dirk van Dijvenbode in the same way. He started the year brightly, was sort of hampered by what happened with COVID and that sort of thing. He didn't carry the best of form on the immediate events to return. But since that Grand Prix final, he just continues to do bits. He continues to be a threat. It's mad where it's come from, but he has been superb. He just doesn't look like he's afraid of anyone. That's a tough draw.
I think so. I think it's going to be one hell of a tough draw. Really, it's just one of those games that I'm really looking forward to watching. I'll be brutally honest, because I think Dirk and Bradley could play a really, really good game round one, and then obviously give the former world champion a decent run for their money. Right. Let's talk about the two women, actually, because we haven't really talked about that because we've been so busy with all the other stuff alongside it. Let's talk about the two women. Lisa Ashton gets Adam Hunt, which is, do you know what? It's not a bad draw. It's not a good draw because Adam's been playing some really good stuff so far. But I think that it's a game that Lisa will be happy with, because there could have been worse draws. Let's not take the mick here when we say that. But also at the same time, though, Dieter Hedman, she gets another player who's been playing really well in inform stuff, Andy Bolton. The winners of those games will be Jamie Hughes or Stephen Bunting, respectively. So is there a chance that we could see another Fallon and one of them get to round three, maybe even beyond?
I'm not so sure. I think Lisa probably has the better chance. A, without being disrespectful, she is a better player than Dieter Hedman, and B, Adam, despite his run at the Grand Slam, I just think if he doesn't quite get going and has a little bit of a confidence issue, and who knows what the crowd are going to do this year, if they start getting on your back, I'm not sure he'll have ever been in that situation before. So there's a small threat for that one. I think Andy Bolton versus Dieter Hedman, that's a tough draw for Dieter on debut. I really rate Andy Bolton. He's just a steady, consistent player. We've seen him go deep on Pro Tours. He hasn't really taken that next step to go on and win one, but he's been there or thereabouts in contention more than a few occasions. That's a tough draw for Dieter.
Certainly is. One game that Lee's mentioned, obviously, in the chat, and Luke's obviously mentioned about Jose de Sousa against Ross Smith or David Evans. Yeah, that's a great game as well, to be fair. Ross Smith playing some really good stuff, and David Evans, obviously, winner of the Challenge Tour, and was playing some really good stuff in the Modus League as well.
Yeah, that's an absolutely killer, solid draw. They're both more than capable of going absolutely berserk. I'm expecting 180s in that one. They're not the biggest characters in the world. They're not going to go overly flamboyant. You're not going to hear much about them, but they will both quietly go on and do their job and deliver a good game of darts. That one is going to be a very, very good game. I'm telling you now. It doesn't even matter. I'll put my neck on the line. That will be a class game of darts.
And let's just talk about one more game before we talk about the fans obviously returning properly, which is Dimitri Van den Berg, the World Match Play champion. Again, he could have had a nicer draw. Luke Humphreys or Paul Lim in that draw. Look, we all know that Paul's an absolute legend of the sport, but I'm going to go on the basis that we saw Luke obviously make the last 16 other Players' Championships this year. Sorry, was it last 8 actually, wasn't it? It was last 8 against Gerben Price. So we're going to go on that basis that Luke wins this. Well, yes, that is true. Look, this is a big game. If it's Dimitri Van den Berg against Luke Humphreys, and Gobbs just lost us, unfortunately. So I'll just talk about this now from my point of view.
The joys
of
you're
back? Oh, there we go. Lovely. Yeah, so Dimitri Van den Berg against Luke Humphreys. Huge game, this, potentially. I mean, obviously, we're not discounting Paul Lim before anybody says we are. We're not. But if it is Dimmy against Luke, what a game that is. Two of the most recent 3, two of the last 2 World Youth Champions before Bradley.
Mm-hmm. They're 2 stage players as well. They're 2 massive, massive stage players. You look at their floor game versus what they're able to deliver on stage, it's completely different. And I was a bit critical of Luke before the Players' Championship run. I don't think he delivered as much this year. He'd done a little bit of talking earlier on in the year, how he thought that because he was World Youth Champion, that should get you into a few more events automatically. And hadn't really backed it up when he had then been in those events with delivering the performances. He'd been a bit flat, a bit placid. I don't think he was that great at Grand Slam, but his run at the Players' Championship was superb, and he's another one that seems to be picking up his form at the right time of the year. So, yeah, that's a massive potential tie if it goes that way. However, I'm not ruling Paul Lim out whatsoever. We were robbed
of
our opportunity to see him at the World Cup. He is superb, so experienced, so professional. He's just fantastic for the game. The fact he keeps qualifying, it's another story. And let's hope this either which way the result goes, that he gets to hit that 9th dart this year if he gets an opportunity, because I think everybody in the world was willing that one to go in against Gary Anderson a couple of years back. Even Gary was willing that to go in, and Gary stood behind him, playing in the leg.
Look, yeah, the worst thing about that, I was in the room, I was at the back of the room, and I couldn't believe it. I was gutted. Right, Glowen Kershaw just said, can the ladies progress? I think Lisa's got a chance. Dieter, I'm not too sure on. I personally, we've talked about this obviously before, but Lisa, I think, has got the better chance of the 2. Would we say that, Gob?
Yeah, completely agree. I just think that Adam's not as experienced as Andy. Despite his recent game at the Grand Slam, he seemed to sneak out of that group. He played okay, sort of like the miracle recovery. But if you're going to draw those 2, I'd be aiming for Adam, I think, despite what the rankings say.
Right, before we go then, really quickly, what section do you think is the worst? What is the section of death rather than the group of death in this one? I got a funny feeling that I'll let you go first, but I think I know which one I'd go with.
I mean, I looked at it with the seeds before, and that second section isn't nice at all. Just for the seeds, and I'm not too convinced it's changed since. There's so many. The seeds are ridiculous standard. Some of the best form players carrying the rankings as well, and they haven't all been rewarded with nice draws. Jason Lowe's more than steady, capable enough. If he comes through Dmitry Gorbanov to give Michael Smith a problem, he's given Michael Van Gerwen a problem on stage. Steve Lennon, Daniel Larson, both very, very steady, capable players. If Steve Lennon manages to find a range on the treble, there's a possibility he can give Devon Peterson a worry, especially with his wrist injury. Madas Razma, we've spoken about that tie with Gary Anderson, more than an opportunity for an upset there. Carvin Hoven and Matthew Edgar, they're playing okay. Edgar's managed to save his tour card already, so this is effectively a free roll to set him back up for next year. Carvin Hoven has done the odd bit this year. We haven't seen anything immense for a few months because of a bereavement, so best wishes to him, but obviously we don't know what condition his darts are going to be in. Van Dyvenbode or Brooks to take on Rob Croft. We spoke about how much of a tie that is. Hunt or Lisa to play Jamie Hughes. Tough, whichever one comes through. We saw the effect the crowd can have on Fallon's run last year. Adam, if he comes through Lisa with Battle Hardened up on that stage, we've seen what happens when he gets through a couple of games. Beaton or Portella for Glenn Durrant. Beaton is been there, done that, Mr. Magic Man, isn't he? Portella, definitely capable. A stablemate of Dozer, and another one who we don't really know his form at the minute because he's been recovering from COVID. He did look better at the Players' Championship, but still didn't win a game. So just like winning becomes a habit, losing can become a habit too, and there's a bit of pressure on him now as Premier League champion. And Heta v Danny Baggish. If Damon Heta comes through that to set up a tie with Adrian Lewis, that entire section is stacked.
And you know what? I can't add anything more to that because I had that draw. I had that section, to be brutally honest. David, last quick question before we move on to the fans because we've got to go, unfortunately. But David says, "Who's your surprise package this year?" I don't know. Is the God's honest truth? I don't know if there's someone from the first round that I think can come and win the thing. If I'm going to have a surprise package, I don't know. Is there a surprise? Someone would say, "Oh, it's not a surprise because of X. It's not a surprise because of Y." But I think the one player for me might be Dirk. Might be Dirk van Dijvenbode.
He's definitely in that sort of conversation as a non-seed to go through and win it. The other one for me is Damon Heta.
Yeah.
He has been very, very good lately. Obviously, he's won on TV before. He just stays at a level. I said this on the review of the Players' Championship. He just stays at a consistent level. And if he can find another gear for when it gets to a deciding leg, or if he can just hold it together better than his opponent, if he gets to that point in sets, then Damon Heta really has a good chance of going deep in this tournament.
I totally agree. One final thing before we go. Obviously, the fans are back, which we cannot wait for. Obviously, you can book tables of 4. If you're in a tier 1 or tier 2 area, I appreciate everybody. A load of people are in tier 3. I'm in the same boat. But hopefully we go down to tier 2 before Christmas. Fingers crossed. We're looking that way, so hopefully. But how important, first of all, remember, just a quick one, if you are going to look to book tickets, just a quick reminder that tickets go on sale today at 12 o'clock if you're a PDC TV annual subscriber. And then if you're not an annual subscriber, you can try and get tickets from Friday at 12 o'clock. The key tickets is that you can only book a table of 4. There's no way you can't book anything else. You can't book single tickets or anything like that because you've got to be someone in the same household if you attend or win a support bubble. No fancy dress or football chants. If that means the end of the Yaya Toure and Don't Take Me Home chants, then I'm all for it. Only 1,000 tickets available for the session. Full information right now on the PDC website. Before we go, Gob, how excited are we to have the fans back?
Massively. It just makes such a difference to the event. But I feel like we have to, before we get onto this, I think we just had our first ever super comment. Thank you to Lil Soul, who's just donated in the YouTube chat to say "Limb for the World." I completely agree. If you're going to donate to us, then I'm all for "Limb for the World." Carry on. But yeah, just having the fans back will be superb. It makes such a difference to the atmosphere. No fake crowd noise being pumped over the top. I just hope that after all the abuse I've given international crowds over the year, that because it's a smaller number and because you're not allowed to chant as much, that the big odd noise doesn't distract players, and then it reflects badly on us too. Yeah.
Well, good luck if you are going to go and try to get tickets today. I appreciate it's going to be like they're going to be like gold dust. So very, very much good luck to you, Jack Gobby Garwood. Thank you for getting up at 9:25 in the morning to join us for the World Darts Championship draw. Thank you very much to everybody else as well in the comments and everyone who's been watching along with us. We really do appreciate it. Don't worry, Phil Bars will be back on Monday when we go through the entire draw. There's going to be lots of interviews coming out before the World Championships as well, so make sure that you stay tuned to us right here on onlinedarts.com. We'll also have this out as a podcast, so if you miss any of it, that you can get it right now. You'll be able to get it as soon as we can possibly put it out to you. And as well, we're back Monday 8 o'clock for the big World Darts Championship preview, draw, thingy, my bobby, everything that you can think of right now. But Nathan Rich is coming in there saying with dross hair again, I look beautiful. So my mum said so anyway. Right, we got to go. We've got to go. So... Oh, I can't wait for mine next Thursday. I can't wait. Look, we can't wait for the World Championships. The draw is out there right now. If you want to review it on onlinedarts.com, it is there for you to have a look at. We cannot wait for it. It starts Thursday, the 15th of December, with Steve West against Amit Gudwala, with a winner to play Peter Wright later on in the night. Thanks again for joining us here on Online Darts YouTube channel. We really do appreciate it. And make sure, of course, you listen to the podcast if you missed any single moment of it. Take care, and we'll see you Monday at 8 o'clock.